If you've looked through my catalog of videos, you can assume that I really like the Mario Kart series, and I do. It's one of my favorite franchises of all time, in fact. There's many things about it that make me love it so much. Its spontaneous and delightfully chaotic nature, its unrivaled multiplayer experience, and just the fact that it's Mario. I really like Marcus. But none of these would hit as hard as they would if it weren't for the race courses. What makes these racetracks excel is that the only limits are the developer's imagination. They don't always have to be your conventional racetrack with asphalt roads. A farm could be a race course, a volcanic hellscape could be a race course, and even Misery could be a race course. These really unconventional and creative courses are what I think get people excited to play Mario Kart the most. And of course, everyone has their personal favorite one. So then, what is my favorite course, you might not be asking? Is it the fan favorite Coconut Mall for its massively appealing concept and its iconic music? What about Maple Treeway with its beautiful autumn aesthetic and challenging track design? What about Excite Bike Arena? I can confirm there's at least one person, you know who you are. Now, I do have an amazing time with most of these tracks, but one of them shines above the rest, and is not only the greatest Mario Kart track of all time, but might as well be considered peak fiction, and that track is Big Blue. I was gonna do a funny fake out and say like Figure 8 Circuit, but like you read the title, you know it's Big Blue. You're not stupid. Mostly. Playing this for the first time back in 2015 blew my crummy, underdeveloped mind away. And playing it more over the years only made me love it more and more. And here, it still stands strong 9 years later. It's the best race course not just because of cool aesthetics, godly music, or innovative design, but because it checks all of these boxes multiple times and more. And I have such a thorough and deep explanation as to why this is the greatest map to any racing game that I can dedicate a whole video to it. And I haven't seen anyone else give it that much spotlight. Not that people think it's bad, quite the opposite, just that everyone said, hey, that track was pretty cool. Anyways, so today I'll be doing what I've been wanting to do for the longest time, to show the world how this is the greatest race course of all time, maybe one of the greatest creations to mankind. Before we get into the actual track, we need to answer, what even is Big Blue?
What are you doing? You're not the thinker!
The casual Mario Kart audience might be confused on what kind of a name is that and how out of place this looks in the Mario universe. Well, that's because it's not from the Mario universe. It actually comes from a different Nintendo racing franchise, F-Zero. A surprising amount of people don't know what F-Zero is these days, so you know Captain Falcon from Smash? Yeah, he's from this game. This was originally going to be Nintendo's kart racing series, but when a sequel to F-Zero eventually turned into a Mario-themed racing game during development, they decided to make that its own series alongside F-Zero. Until they eventually realized that they didn't really need two racing franchises, so F-Zero slowly died out and was replaced by Marcus Kartus. For what I've played, I think F-Zero is solid and has its own identity, with the whole futuristic setting and having a slightly more mature tone. And even if Nintendo is gonna have this series collect dust in the corner, they should at least pay some respect, considering this is what led to the creation of their most popular series. And that's exactly what they did in Mario Kart 8's DLC, where they added a track as tribute to F-Zero, Mute City. We're not gonna give that much spotlight to Mute City in this video, but to be concise, it's fast-paced, looks amazing, and overall really great. And you'd think that would be the end of it. They would make one track in honor of the old racing game and move on. But then they're like, you know what? Fuck it, let's make another one. This time inspired by the second most iconic track, Big Blue, where Mute City was a futuristic city, Big Blue is a futuristic city, but water. Now, considering that the source material looks like this, it doesn't really seem like it would be that interesting. But rather than trying to recreate the layout like they do with racetracks from other Mario Kart games, they just took the overall theme and went wild from there. And goddamn did they go wild. Even if Nintendo isn't interested in making a new F-Zero game, from this track, you can just feel how much they love the world of F-Zero. And with passionate designers mixed with a tasteful callback to an old franchise, it's a recipe for a masterpiece. And would you look at that, they followed the recipe. Now with the background information out of the way, it's time to get into the course itself and analyze each and every aspect of this map to prove just how amazing Big Blue truly is. Right off the bat, the first thing you'll notice is, oh my god, this looks beautiful. Let's talk about Big Blue's presentation, one of the many things this course excels at. Mario Kart 8 courses are already highly acclaimed for having incredible visuals and great attention to detail, and Big Blue is one of the strongest examples. When you look at the appearances of Big Blue in its home series, you can see that they're really not impressive. It's pretty much Mute City. but with water. But Mario Kart 8 takes full advantage of the high-tech city and ocean fusion to create something visually spectacular. And it's not just what's inside the track, but especially what's on the outside. If you just stop and look around, you can see distant buildings, futuristic doodads, sights of other planets. At the start, there is this hologram that says, "Welcome to Big Blue." Come on. How many tracks are this polite? And I love how there's these ships flying around. They didn't have to put them there at all. The track would be just fine without them or any of these background elements. After all, it's a racing game. You're always moving around, so you won't be able to even see most of these. But it's because the designers were so passionate and cared about the tiniest details that make this feel like a living, breathing world. And when a designer's love is poured all over their creation, it makes the player love it just as much. But this course doesn't just have a pretty face, for it is also beautifully crafted to form a race course that has a player make critical choices without even noticing. It starts with this long, smooth left turn that helps refresh what you've learned from Mute City with the regeneration panels. A staple in the F-Zero games that serve as a pit stop to restore your ship's power. If you hit a wall, you'll lose power. If you run out of power, you explode. However, your car doesn't blow up in Mario Kart, as cool as that would be. So instead, driving over these panels will gradually give you coins, which increase your max speed. I gotta say, this is a genius way to translate F-Zero's power mechanic over to Mario Kart. Same with how when you hit a wall in both Mute City and Big Blue, it will make this hard electric crash sound much like an F-Zero. And that really brings up my only criticism for this track. I wish hitting walls would make you lose coins to further emulate F-Zero's power mechanic, and it would make the pit stop panels relied on more by players. This may sound frustrating or too hard, but hey, this ain't your grandma's Luigi circuit. This is a real gamer's turf. We like them big and we like them blue. With the main gimmick introduced, it then gives us a choice. We got a left path and an ascending right path, and taking either path has their ups and downs. Since the left is on the inside, it's faster, so you'll be ahead of those who went right. But the right has more of those pit stop panels, so you'll likely have more coins, therefore higher max speed than those who took the left path. This fork in the road is really clever. It asks the player if they want to get ahead now or if they want to invest in higher overall speed throughout their race, assuming they don't fuck up and lose their coins anyways. I'm telling you, every element of this course had so much thought put into it. And the next part further proves my claim, where we've got this curvy road of sets of conveyor belts. The green push you forward, and the red push you back. So you want to be on the green ones, not the red. Mind-boggling shit, I know. Although this conveyor section might feel like filler, once you really look into it, you can see that once again it has some strategic layers to it. Naturally, the player would want to drive over the green conveyors on the outside so you don't get slowed down by the red conveyors on the inside, right? Well, you could do that, or if you have a mushroom or some boost, you can cut through the off-road on the inside of the turns. Or, now this is for the hardcore gamers, do you see that between the red conveyor and the off-road? You see that slim line of normal road? If you're confident, you can try to drive on this thin line while not touching the two things between you that will slow you down. But it's much faster than taking the green conveyors on the outside. It's a risk and reward type of deal, and you'll love a good risk and reward. And I also love a track that offers a good challenge for experienced players while still providing a safe option for those less experienced. What seems like a drawn out section of conveyor belts actually provides a subtle yet enticing challenge. After this is a brief gliding section, and you might think this has to be filler, but even this part serves a purpose, because it actually teases the next section, giving you a little preview of what's to come. It really makes you think, dude, ain't no way we're going down that big water slide. Oh, and I've neglected to mention that Big Blue is one of the few Mario Kart courses that have a point A and a point B, divided into 3 sections rather than being a loop. And I love these type of courses because it means you're always seeing something new from start to finish. I also love how the markers of the next sections are boost panels, adding to the fact that this course is pretty fast paced. And here we are at the second section. Now there's not much to talk about with this section because it really revolves around one thing: a water slide. Water slides are fun. I don't really have a deep game design analysis for it, water slides are just inherently fun. But I can't talk about this section without bringing up the Big Blue Supercut. In 200cc, if you jump off one part of the slide, you can skip over huge segments. And not only is it really beneficial and satisfying to pull off, it looks really funny. Something about your cart slowly hovering down cracks me up. And on the topic of taking cuts, Big Blue is a really fun course to speedrun. Anti-gravity is on the whole race, and given the name, there is a significant reduction in gravity, meaning that you get a lot of airtime from jumping off the course. So those skilled enough can skip a significant amount of the road, and it's really fun to pull off. So yeah, Big Blue has a place for casual players, experienced players, and speedrunners. You could say that
it is a little something for everyone.
The scenery of this section rules as well. Driving between a bunch of waterfalls and seeing the water flow through this part is really neat. It really feels like you're flowing alongside the current. After a short-lived but really cool looking gliding tunnel, that brings us to the final section. Oh, dude. Like, come on. So now we get more strips of conveyors, once again with risk and reward elements, but a bit different than before. You see, there's also dash panels moving on these conveyors, so you have to catch up with them in order to get even more speed. And what makes this part fun is trying to hit the dash panels on the conveyors going against you before you boost when the last panel runs out. And the risk of doing this is if your speed boost runs out before you hit the next dash panel, you'll get slowed down by the red conveyors. This part is also brilliant because the player is making split-second decisions on whether to chase the dash panels moving away from them or take the dash panels heading toward them. You may be playing the course, but the course is also playing you. And then there's some more pit stop panels, nothing really special going on here, until once you realize that the ocean is on the ceiling. Mario Kart 8's anti-gravity mechanic has given us some really cool perspectives, but none of them compare to seeing the ocean right above you. Big Blue is constantly changing perspective throughout the race, yet it feels so seamless. You most likely won't even notice that you're slowly turning upside down during the start of the last section. And then there's this part with the green and purple roads. I'll admit it's probably the weakest bit, it's just two winding roads with dash panels and anti-gravity boosters, but I admit I love how at certain parts you can just change your mind, like, you know what, fuck green, I like purple more. Overall, this last section is all about trying to get you going as fast as possible, making the final stretch feel a lot more exciting, so I can see why this part isn't too involved. And here we are, the finish line in sight, where it's just a road with a bit of a curve, a chance to use any boost you're still holding on to, no tricks, no gimmicks. This last part may feel empty, but I think that was intentional. After all the crazy stuff this ultimate water slide puts you through, it then leaves you with a stretch of pure, untainted road, where the rest of the race relies on pure skill, luck, and willpower. What makes this seemingly boring part so intense is the fact that it's the perfect opportunity for your luck to turn around because of the items. There's been lots of times where I lose first place at the last stretch from getting hit by an item, so naturally I tense up during this last part. But once you make it through unscathed, that's the end. And you get to chill in this cool neon chamber and wait for the others to cross. Oh, and if you check the rear view during this last part, you can see this wall of ocean, and it looks so cool. And yeah, that's the end of it. Big Blue not only looks spectacular, but every bit of the racetrack itself is designed with so much thought to make it both strategic and overall really fun. So I guess you could say that this track is pretty much perfect? Well, it isn't. It's more than perfect. Because there's one more thing about Big Blue that I haven't brought up yet, and that's the music. Mario Kart 8 has one of the best video game soundtracks in my opinion. Being heavy on brass and electric guitars, as well as being recorded with live instruments, makes the game's music feel so full of life. And with this track, of course they'll be basing its music off of Big Blue's music from the F-Zero games, which already goes kinda hard. So when this lively band of musicians remaster a classic piece, with the context that this was originally the final track of Mario Kart 8, what's the end result? What might be one of the greatest video game music of all time. Listen to this. However I describe this piece will be doing it a disservice, but if you just give it a listen, you'll just know. Best I can describe this track is a battle between a guitarist and a sax player, and both are winning. Everyone involved is pouring their heart and soul into this piece, giving one big send-off to Mario Kart 8. You know, at least until Deluxe and the Booster Course Pass were a thing. As legendary as the soundtrack is, you'd think that it would get soiled a bit by the fact that the final lap makes the music higher pitched, and in most cases worse, but no. Big Blue has its own section for the final lap, and it somehow goes even harder. I just can't believe something like this is real. A Mario Kart track that is aesthetically jaw-dropping, masterfully designed, backed up by one of the hardest hitting music to hit to Earth. And that is why I think Big Blue from Mario Kart 8 is the best course in this series, and one of the greatest levels in gaming. It puts the entire Booster course past its shame, and even shines above the already highly acclaimed base game tracks. And can I just say it's hilarious that what follows in the track order are these two? Now, of course, people have their opinions, and we all have our own definitions of the best Mario Kart track. Like what you like, hate what you hate. But one thing I cannot stand is when people criticize this track by saying it's overrated. I cannot stand this word. It's supposed to describe something that you believe to be more praised than it deserves to be, but people nowadays don't use this term correctly at all. Contrarians use overrated to prove why a popular thing is actually not good, and don't provide any further explanation. Because they don't have any, they're just trying to not fit in. Besides, isn't that kind of ass backwards? You're saying something is not good because lots of people like it? Huh? I think something being highly rated is telling of its quality. Sometimes things can be popular because they're actually good. Like, bro, you're not escaping the Matrix. So for those watching, don't fall for the overrated trap and feel the need to be different just for the sake of it. It's okay if your favorite track is a popular one, like Waluigi Pinball, Coconut Mall, and of course, Big Blue. But that's enough rambling. Hope you enjoyed this considerably long video on one Mario Kart course. I've been wanting to get this off my chest for quite a while now, and see this as my last Mario Kart related video for a while since I've been doing them for the past couple months and don't want to just be the Mario Kart guy. I want to branch out some more, you know? But I will be posting a compilation of my videos on Mario Kart Tour as one full review sometime soon, so look out for that once it's out. Until then, stay big and stay blue.